So our next speaker is Beecher's Trilobite bed by Jessica Utrup from Yale.
Morning, everybody. I am indeed Jessica Utrup. So I am going to talk to you briefly about Beecher's Trilobite bed. So Charles Doolittle Walcott in the late 1870s was visiting his in-laws in upstate New York, and he found some pyretized trilobites and was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, 30 miles down the road in Cleveland's Glen, two farmers and amateur fossil hunters, William Seymour Valiant and his half-brother Sidney Mitchell, started digging, and they found some too. And they found some that look like this. So they're like, whoa, that has legs, it has antennae. This was really exciting because while trilobites had been known for a long time, the word trilobite itself has actually been used since 1771 in a paper by Johann Falk. Legs and antennae were really kind of highly disputed. And people were like, yeah, it's an arthropod, but what kind of arthropod is it? If we don't have these soft parts preserved, how do we know what it is? In 1870, Elkanah Billings had found isotylus trilobites with hints of legs showing. In 1879, Charles Walcott himself had sectioned enrolled trilobites and shown that they did indeed have legs preserved on their ventral side. But it wasn't until William Seymour Valiant and Sidney Mitchell found this pyretized bed in the late Ordovician, help me out, Tim, Franklin Shale? You're not listening. Yeah. That you really have definitive proof there. So in 1893, Valiant published a paper and said, we found these pyretized trilobites, they have antennae, they have legs, this is amazing. And people were like, yeah, you found legs, whatever, we don't really believe you. But Charles Beecher said, not that far, I'll go up to Rome, New York, and I'll see what you guys found. And he was blown away. So he, along with O.C. Marsh, another famous Yale paleontologist, they got a 10-year lease, exclusive lease to excavate this bed. They removed over a ton of shale. They brought it back to Yale, and then, the fossils are spectacular on their own, but the real skill was Charles Beecher's manual dexterity. He tried mechanical prep, but the shale would break apart. He tried doing different chemical treatments, but the pyrite would dissolve. So he ended up using abrasives on eraser tips, carving the eraser tips smaller and smaller so he could get down into the little nooks and crannies. We also have some that he excavated out from the other side, so you can see all of the limbs down underneath. And between his meticulous skill and attention to detail, his willingness to try different techniques that hadn't been used before, we got a completely amazing, absolutely amazing view of what the soft parts of a lot of these trilobites were like. So Charles Beecher published a series of papers between 1893 and 1904 on the thoracic appendages of these. And one thing that's really cool about it is we found that they're actually biramous. They're two-parted appendages. There's an upper exopodite, sorry, I'm not really a trilobite person, an exopod, that has these filaments on it. And then the lower endopod seems to be a walking leg. And so for the last century, people have debated the purpose of this filamentous one. Was it a gill? Or, because this is a very kind of dysaerobic, anoxic environment, could it be for chemosymbiotic bacteria that helped the trilobites survive in such an inhospitable environment? That's still kind of up for debate. But unfortunately, in 1904, Charles Beecher died. He was young, it was unexpected, and the site was lost to science. And it wasn't until the 1980s that it was rediscovered by amateur fossil hunters Tom Whiteley and Dan Cooper. And then the American Museum of Natural History and the Smithsonian Institution went down and did some excavations themselves. Starting in 2005, one of our graduate students, Una Farrell from Yale University, went down and collected probably another ton of rock and brought back, worked out all the geochemistry of it, and we are left with so many beautiful pyretized trilobites. Thanks.